Yeah, we were excited to get Tamir. That was one of the kind of focus points of the spring portal window there for us, was trying to add a linebacker that had some experience. We knew we had some youth and some talent, but from a depth perspective, we were hoping to add one more guy there that had played some ball, and maybe give us a little bit more of a sure thing in terms of an impact this year. So I'm excited to see him. Obviously, I had a chance to watch him here this summer, watch him run around. He's a big physical kid. He's worked hard to learn our system and getting to know our guys, and certainly brings some good experience to the table. So, we're gonna work him. Get at both at Mike and Will, give him a chance to get a little bit of burn at both and see where he best fits. But been impressed with him so far.
Coach, how do you see this defensive identity and vision and how do you see it coming to fruition? What are some of the steps you guys are taking as a coaching staff to ensure that happens?
Well, I think it is. It's really trying to graduate from, drastically improved to really being dominant. And I think that's been the message for our guys is from a mentality standpoint, it's like, be excited about the progress, but don't be near satisfied. And making sure that mentality is in every single thing that we do. And whether it's practice, whether it's workouts, it's making sure that the people that come in new to our program, the new defensive players, some of the new coaches, that they understand that and understand their role in taking this unit to the next level. Because I think the excitement is we all sense that opportunity. I mean, with the staff that we have, the players returning, the players we've added, the confidence that was built, like there's a real opportunity here to go do this. And I think not just our defensive coaches and our defensive players, our entire program's excited about that, because that's where you win championships. It is cliche, but it is true. That is absolutely where you win championships. And obviously the excitement is there, and now it's up to all of us to take it to the next level. Well, I mean, I think that could come about, obviously, a lot of different ways. We were really pleased with Micah Banuelos the second half of spring. Really, it's kind of the first time in his career at SC where he's been able to stay healthy and have some continuity, and he got better quickly. Tobias Raymond gives us some, for sure, position flexibility. And I think the other guy that really stood out that certainly kind of put himself right in the middle of the competition there to play is Kalen Miller. Kalen's been a program guy for us, walked on here a couple years ago, and has done some really, really good things. So he's certainly going to factor in somewhere in the interior three for us as well. So that's kind of the initial depth right now. We'll be excited to see guys like Makai Sena, Treater, some of those guys here in fall camp that were limited some in spring, to see if they're ready to contribute. It honestly might be tackle, just depth. Because a couple of our guys like Tobias, like Justin, that are definitely going to play for us. They're also some of your depth inside. So if all of a sudden they have to go inside, it's like, all right, where are you at tackle-wise? So I feel like we probably have more options, probably interior, which is that's not unusual. But I do feel like we have a few, just different chess pieces there. Whereas tackle, if a guy goes down or a guy's got to move inside, it gets a little bit more thin there. So, how that plays out will be intriguing. But, I mean, I do feel like we have, 6 to 7, no doubt capable starters, no doubt. And I haven't been able to probably say that at this point, in our time here, with a lot of young talent that we're excited to see what they become here in fall camp and into the season. Devin Tompkins, I would say, just from what he's become for us, how valuable he's become. He made some really impactful plays for us, especially at the end of last season. And he kind of feels like a guy that's just going to have a big year to me. Prophet Browns. Those are probably two that really had great springs that I think are going to have a chance to be very impactful. It's a really good coach. He's a great human being, great person, really good coach. Not a surprise that somebody would hire him as a play calling OC. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's a really good hire. Knows offense. Yeah, obviously strength is in the line play, but has plenty of experience with the skill as well to be able to marry it all together. Yeah, he'll be great for that staff. Be great for Barry. He did a awesome job for us. I'm happy for him, and it'll be kind of weird being on the opposite sideline week 3. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, that's one of the fun parts is going to these different places, playing these different people, and going to some of these places that our staff and our players have never been. So it'll be first Big Ten game, be a lot of excitement around it, and we're looking forward to the challenge. Yeah, he might be a cheeseburger or two ahead of that right now. He's a big dude, and like some guys you'd be concerned at that way, but honestly, Jaws, the way he's built, it's pretty unique. He's a massive human being, man, and he's done a good job. He's an eager kid. Has really worked hard. He's probably already one of the more beloved guys on the roster just because he's got a real energy for everybody in the program, and really seems like he really wants to be good. And so he's impressed a lot of people. And because, I mean, he's just one of those guys you see that we had a lot of instances in spring, like when he really goes and he's really confident and turns it loose, like he's tough to block. I mean, he's going to be tough to block for a lot of people just because his size, the power that he can generate is pretty unique. So, yeah, he's definitely a part of that revamped interior that I know that it's just, watching our offense and defense compete in the spring, you felt the impact of our interior guys more than in years past. Yeah, he's been a guy that's just been on our radar screen. You always have kind of lists running of if you have to hire this position at any point for whatever reason, that these are some guys to keep an eye on. So I'd been aware of them. We talked to a lot of people just because we felt like we were going to be able to get somebody really good, and we had a lot of guys both in the NFL and college that wanted this job bad. You would actually be surprised by some of the names probably. But as we kept going through it and got deeper into interviews, he just was just something about him, his mentality, how he sees not only training but just kind of helping to build the most disciplined unit that he possibly can. That just kind of captivated us and felt like he was the right guy, and he just kind of kept separating himself, honestly. And then what was cool about True was, we had a initial phone call and then I think 2 different virtual calls, and then he was good on the phone call. He was better on the next virtual call. He was better on the next virtual call, and then in person he was way better than that. And he's got a really unique, which I think is pretty hard to find. Like he's very demanding, very, very demanding. But he's got he does it in a very tasteful way, a very genuine way about it. And it's a cool balance that he has that I think our guys, it did not take long for everybody in our locker room to respect him and what he's here to do. Oh, it was a tough decision. I mean, it's always hard when, what you have, somebody there you care about, and two, and we've had a lot of success together. I mean, a lot of success together. And so, it was not an easy decision, but I felt like for USC at this time and place where our program was at, that we needed a new voice down there, and we needed somebody with the emphasis points like I just talked about that maybe were just approached in a little bit different fashion. And And yeah, it wasn't easy to do, but at the same time, that's part of this job from time to time. And happy that we landed on Coach Drew, and obviously, I think asking of our players here today about the impact. I mean, they'll tell you.
Speaking of new voices, you talked about Mike Leach. You had a big impact on when you're sitting around at home at night, maybe against the paper and watching Varsity Blues, longest yard. What are some of the plays you say, oh, you know what, that looks kind of interesting. Maybe we should do that. Does any of that ever come across your does everything strictly what you see on the wheel?
Man, you just never knew what to expect. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably, I've said it before. I think probably the biggest thing he taught me was just don't put limits on what you can do. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to do things different than maybe what everybody else thinks you can do. And don't take yourself or all of it too seriously. And that's kind of how he lived and went about it. And there've been good things both in life. Running a program or even down to just, calling an offense. Been things that I've tried to remember and that have helped me throughout the years.
Coach, a running back's question. Woody Marks was good last year. He was really good.
Really good.
I thought the Texans got a steal.
I do too.
So one, you thought about how he could transition to the NFL. And two, Raymond Jordan, when you've gone JC route.
Yep.
And it's happened before. I mean, OJ came to SC from the JCs. So you can find guys in the JC route too. Talk about him as well, what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'm excited for Woody. I mean, 1,000-yard rusher, in this league is not easy to do. And so, Woody was incredibly productive, and that's really in only 11 games because he really missed the entire Notre Dame game. So he was a really good player. Everything we could ask for, tough. I know the Texans love him, and they should. So they've actually got two of my former guys, so I'll be rooting for that run game. Wayman was a little bit of a late find. We'd taken one portal back in Eli Sanders, who we love, and we were pretty content on being done, maybe getting one more young guy, and then Wayman came across our radar screen from a former contact in the business, and we watched him and we said, look, we may not necessarily need the number, but this guy's a good enough player. We're gonna. Sometimes you kind of bust through your criteria or your numbers when you feel like somebody is good enough, and we felt like he was. And so, just super impressed with him. He made an impact right away in spring. I think he's a very versatile back. He's got a lot of production behind him. He's the JUCO National Player of the Year. And I think the junior colleges have, in the world of transfers, are a little bit more under the radar than they used to be. Because everybody is like, well, I need some immediate help. I should go get a transfer. And so, I mean, he had obviously some good opportunities. I'm a little surprised he wasn't more highly recruited, but I'm sure glad he's a USC Trojan.
Coach, what did you learn about managing the travel this year?
It is what it is. Can I sit here and say like it was some massive factor on the season? I don't know that I believe that, honestly. Now, are there things that both on our weekly schedule and then when we travel that we're going to adjust and do differently? Yes, there is. They're not earth-shattering, but there are some things we feel like are going to give our team, a better chance to play better and recover better and be ready to go on the road. So that's just part of the challenge in our league right now. We're going to, like anything, we're going to look back at what we did and find a few ways to make it better. Yeah, no, I'd probably echo a little bit what I said on the podium. I mean, I'm a college football fan and purist and all that before I was a player, before I was a coach, any of that, and that hasn't changed. I mean, the rivalries are special. The two head coaching jobs I've had are right at the center of two of the absolute best rivalries in the sport, and that was the first thought when I got both of those jobs of that I get to be a part of that. And that, so like my love for the rivalries and, whether it was OU Texas or now, SC Notre Dame will never change. The unfortunate part of right now is, we're all put in a little bit of an impossible situation or where you've got to make decisions on, something that you care about or something that's so important to the history and the fans and all that as a rivalry. And also doing competitively relative to the playoff and a chance to win a national championship, what's best for your own program. And it's not an easy situation to be in. And this one's certainly more complicated because one team's in a conference and one team is not in a conference. And it is what it is. I'm not throwing shade at anybody. It's just the truth. And it makes it, the value relative to the playoff for the two teams is radically different. And so, our hope is obviously, we can get this playoff system to the automatic qualifying model. And if that happens, that's going to, pave the way to any rivalry that maybe loses its conference affiliation. There's a bunch of them out there. Will have a chance to live on forever. And I mean, it's a real simple solution. So, certainly hopeful that we can get to that point because, yeah, I mean, like I said, I want the game to be played forever. I think it would be really sad if SC Notre Dame was ever not played. But, I'm not the head coach at Notre Dame, and I'm not some person in the middle of it. I've worked for my allegiance to SC, and that's not going to change.
In that four automatic qualifier format, is anything lost when those games aren't really going to matter for the actual playoff? Because that'll just be based on conference schedule. Do you lose something by those games not having those same playoff stakes?
I don't think so. In fact, I even think it incentivizes you even more to play them because, I mean, I just don't think any SC Notre Dame, any team or fan base or coaching staff is ever going to walk out on the field of that game and not want to do everything that they possibly can to win that thing. I almost think it incentivizes you more to play them and prepping your team and playing another really good program, playing in big time atmospheres, the exposure that it gets. I mean, everything. It's so meaningful to the former players and to the fans and everyone. So I think competitiveness is too high in this game for that to happen. Because the other thing I want to say on that too, because the game would still affect seeding, and that's really important, right? So there's still, you get value for winning the game. You win the game and go in the playoff. Well, that's another thing that's going to help you as your seed. So it's great. It just doesn't put you at a competitive disadvantage on access to the playoff. And I think that's the key right now. It'll never happen. I made one of the shows today, one of the 74 I've done. I gave this analogy. It's like, all right, if last year after the first game, all right, take our LSU game last year, and you're evaluating LSU, and they lose to a ranked opponent, to really heck of a football game, lose right at the end, all right? So they're 0-1, and somebody else played an FCS team, and they won by 31 points. All right, everybody wants to say, well, it may be more impressive to, play a really good game and it come down right there to the end, and it probably is. But at the end of the day, ain't nobody gonna pick a loss over a win. It's not gonna happen. You can't justify it. People are not gonna look, if they're making a committee decision, are not gonna look at this record versus that record and put the other team in. And we saw proof of it. I mean, we've seen proof of it forever. At the end of the day, when it's humans, it's going to be win the loss record. And that's just not, I just don't think that's going to change. And it's not fair to those people because how do you make that decision? It's an impossible. We have put some of the brightest, smartest, people with incredible histories in this game. You're giving them an impossible task. You're trying to compare things that aren't the same. And so the only way to do it is either you put everybody under the same whatever, which I don't know that that's anywhere near, I'm not projecting anything, or you make it to where the conferences can still have kind of their own little individual things like they have right now, and the conferences decide who represents them in the playoffs. College football's changed. This isn't the SEC is not the same SEC that it was. You added 2 blue bloods. You know what I mean? The Big Ten's not the same Big Ten that it was. Now everybody's paying players instead of just some people. It's the truth though. Really. And again, I'm not throwing shade at people. Evaluating what, going back with these models, and this would have happened 15 years ago. That don't matter because this ain't the same. This is different. And I just think if we want to preserve these things and we want to take the human element out of the decision making on who gets in or not, that's where this comes from. And so it makes a lot of sense. I really hope we get there.
On that topic of change
Some ways yes, in some ways no. Depends where you're at. It depends where you're at. If you're in, if you're in some spots, it was easier to win years ago. If you're at other spots, it's easier to win now.
Lincoln, if the playoff expands and they don't do the automatic qualifiers that you favor, what do you envision a USC schedule in the non-conference being like?
I mean, hard to say. I mean, it definitely it puts a different type. I will say it'll put a different type of. I don't know if pressure is the right word, but it'll put all the Big Ten teams in a really unique scenario, because if we stay at it's just us playing 9 in terms of the Big Two conferences, and it's just us playing 9. Our outlook and what we'll need is probably going to be quite a bit different than the others, and that's a little bit the unfortunate part and what we're trying to avoid. So if it happens, we'll deal with it. But I just I got a hard time believing we're going to get to that. I really do. It would help. I mean, it would. It's because none of us got in this to try to disrupt traditions or eliminate rivalry games. That's the anti of what we got into this for. So nobody wants that, but we also want to do our job for the places that hired us too. So yeah, I mean it would be a huge step, and I hope we all, maybe it's as some of these things in college football have been withering away a little bit, right? Some of these traditions, maybe it's an effort and a calling for all of us in it to all right, let's do something that's really good for the game. Let's do it.
Coach, offensive philosophy question. When you were at Oklahoma, you played Army.
Yeah.
And
That was a crazy game.
yeah, but they keep doing what they're doing. Air Force got going again late last year, but this goes back to Coach Hatfield
Yep.
in the 80s. Navy last year, nobody could stop
Yep.
them. And they beat Oklahoma in the bowl game.
Yep.
Are you surprised that more programs, I guess Rice is trying something like that this year, but don't try to do what they did because it's so awkward?
No, it is. It is. Oh, it's such a pain. Our middle linebacker that game, Kenneth Murray, had 23 tackles. I think that game, you better correct me if I'm wrong, they ran 90-something plays. We ran 40 in an overtime game. And I don't think they had a play longer than 8 yards. But we couldn't get off the field on third down. It was a crazy game. We were lucky to win. It's still really effective. It'll be effective for as long as they have organized football. The deal with some of the bigger schools will be, can you recruit to it? And because that's not an offensive style you see in the NFL, right? Are you going to get a player that has NFL aspirations that's going to go do that? And that's going to always be the tipping point, because as a scheme, it's genius. I mean, it'll always work forever. It's awesome.
When you think about recruiting, if you go back 5-10 years and you think about the time between when a kid gives his verbal commitment and then when he's actually able to sign, how different is the process of trying to keep a class together now versus maybe what it was 10 or 12 years ago?
It's evolved. It was easier, then a little harder, then a whole lot harder, and honestly now maybe easier. Yeah, and I think as we get into the world now of contracts and all these different things, it's maybe starting to get easier in that I think there's going to be a little bit more uniformity. I think there's going to be a little bit more just kind of true typical agreements like you see in any other business enterprise in the world, which I think it's starting to get a little bit easier, and I think it's going to get easier as it goes on.
And what was it like at peak difficulty?
Oh, just not fun, honestly. I mean, just kind of not believing anything you hear, and you're just kind of stressed all the time of this is happening or that's happening, and almost having to babysit kids on the way home. The worst was probably right before it went to the early signing period, because then not only you didn't have to just get to December, it was all the way through early February. I mean, it was so. Yeah, some of these changes have lessened that a little bit.
Was there anything notable for you last year in being on the same field and coaching on the opposite sideline with Dana Holgerson? And when you think about now having his
Yeah, we've actually, it's kind of crazy. We've coached a lot against each other at, West Virginia and then Houston. Like we've always found, we were joking at pregame before the game this year because I was like, what are you doing? Like 2 weeks ago you were, I don't know if you were even there, and now you're here calling plays. We were laughing about it 'cause we always find a way to end up coaching our teams going against each other. No, I mean, you could see his impact immediately, which was fairly remarkable considering he'd been there like 2 weeks. He's a phenomenal offensive coach. Like, that's a home run hire for Matt, and Matt knows it. And I learned a lot from him. He's going to adapt. He's a tremendous, tremendous coach. So, no, that's a really big win for Nebraska. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's some ways. I mean, the schedule is a little bit different with kind of how it builds up a little bit this year. And so I don't know that we sit there and do a whole lot different. I just think the season's going to have a different flow to it. And so excited to open the season here at home. I think that's always a great thing for us. And, we got plenty of big games throughout this schedule. So hopefully it gives us a chance to see where we're at there early and make some adjustments and get ready for the Big Ten slate.
Going back to Notre Dame rivalry for a second, are you at all surprised that there's pushback to not agree to a long-term deal that could potentially put you guys at a massive disadvantage with so many changes and other teams not scheduling a game like that?
I'm not surprised that there was opinions on it on the outside. I mean, with SC football, there's always going to be an opinion one way or another. And like, I get it. Like, nobody wants to see it go away. Like, me included. Like, I get it. I think most of the people that have opinions aren't in our shoes, though. And most of the people, if you put that same scenario and put it in their own household, would probably think about it a lot differently. So, and we chose, unlike the other side, we chose to just, not sit there and make a big public outcry. We wanted to see how this stuff evolved and have a good, calm head about it, and then get our chance to speak on it at the appropriate time, and that's what we did.
The new CSC, any USC player deals either been denied or that it took too long for them to clear something, so a player missed out on a deal because it took too long to get cleared?
Yeah, I haven't. I know there's been a few issues here and there, which is to be expected in the beginning, but there's not any deals with our players right now that I would say like there's been a big issue about right now. No, so it's kind of going through its process, and we understand there's going to be some growing pains, and we're learning how it works, and our players agents and all that are learning. But I mean, it seems like I don't have any complaints about it at this time.
Even how the guidance has changed quite literally this week.
Yeah, yeah.
How is it on the coach's side of things to go about trying to manage insofar as one can that, and even knowing what would get a deal denied or have them delay so long that it could basically, the opportunity could expire on the player.
Right.
The player's missing out on money. Hey, what happened?
Yeah. I just say, Chad, you handle it. I'm gonna go coach. I think it's frustrating. We tried to talk to our guys about, like, understand that there is going to be some adjustments within this. There's going to be some frustrating pieces. Like, it's too big and it's too new and it's happening too fast. Like, just we got to understand that a little bit. We just have to take it into account. And I think we got to trust that, the powers that be are going to put some real rules and regulations in front of us, that they're going to take our feedback from it and try to make the system as good for college football as it possibly can. And I think it's on all of us just we got to have some optimism that it's going to work, right? And we got to all take some responsibility in whatever our roles are to help make it work. If it does work, it's going to be really good for the game. We all need it to work, and I think it can. But there's some frustrating times for players, coaches, the players' representatives, their families. Yeah, absolutely, because there is still a lot of unknown, and that's just, we rolled it out so quickly that you know, you either roll it out quickly and learn some on the fly, or you say, hey, you know, we're going to do it in December or January after the season and give you a little bit more runway. And you got to pick one and go with it, and this is the route we choose.
What is that system working with the team? Does that mean no one's stepping outside of the cap, or is that just something you expect is always going to happen no matter what?
Well, I mean, it's just going to depend on what the regulations are, you know, what type of rules, how they're enforced, how enforcement works. I mean, that's going to be the whole thing. And a lot of it's going to be, you know, what limitations they're actually able to enforce, you know, and because, I mean, you know, this day and age, everybody's getting sued as soon as they try to put up a roadblock. And so, you know, how all that evolves, I think will determine how successful this is. But I think it makes sense in principle. I do think they have some really smart people working on it. It's all happening so sudden that it's like there has to be this adjustment period that everybody's going to have to give it a little bit of grace. The media, us as coaches, the players, like everybody's just going to have to give it a little grace if we want to really give it a chance to work.
Coach, another portal angle question.
Okay.
A lot of those lately, I know. But in regard to bowl games, and it's hit you guys a little bit, but some other schools it's hit a lot. I was back in Charlotte and I asked Jake Dickert about this. Because, you know, Washington State had just the roster
Yep.
worked out. His suggestion was move the portal to January. But when you've got like Marshall had to like pull out of the bowl game because
Yep.
they had 65 guys transfer out. It looks like that early portal in December during the bowl season, not the playoffs,
Yep.
most of the bowls, it's just not compatible.
Yep.
I mean, what are your thoughts? Should there be a later portal? I'm not sure how academically that works, but what's the dilemma there?
Yeah, that's a problem. It's fitting it in academic calendars. You know, you've got some schools on semesters, some on quarters. It's when can I get in a portal and actually go through some type of recruiting process, figure out when I want to go, and then get in school so I can train and go through spring ball and all that. And so that's why even the discussions of possibly, you know, eliminating or moving spring ball and going to a more OTA style, you know, practice it has come about, is to almost help create a portal window and not disadvantage that if you do make the portal window, you know, much later than it's currently been. But no, with the bowl things, it's a problem. I mean, it just is. I mean, we've all dealt with it in some form or fashion, some enough where games have gotten canceled, enough or down to times we've had, you know, we've certainly been a part of this where, you know, you're not exactly sure 1 week to the next who actually is going to be playing for you in the game. And so, you know, it's now you hate it. Now that, listen, there's still been some great bowl games though. I mean, there really has, but no, I think figuring how all that fits, the bowls, the playoff, the portal, and then these school windows is the big challenge right now.
You got a lot of recruiting wins this year, head-to-head with Oregon. What do you attribute the success you guys have had this year against them compared to even some past years? What do you attribute that to?
I don't know that I would speak like to just like one school. I mean, I just think, you know, one, I think our front office, our new front office has come in and done a really nice job. I think we have a staff of guys that are really good from a development standpoint, and guys that I think have a pretty good track record at a lot of these different positions and sides of the ball. I think our new facility, not just being a poster on a wall anymore, but actually being real that they can see is a big deal. Not just the facility itself, but just the message that it sends. Our NIL has certainly gone from not being in a very good place where we got here to, you know, a much more competitive place, which is obviously a factor for, you know, everybody in today's recruiting landscape. And I think too, I've shared with somebody, like if you're a young kid, especially in the Southern California region, and you grew up, you know, what you grew up watching is gonna stick in your head. And I think, you know, kids here over the last few years, and I'm not saying it's been perfect, but they've seen some success. They've seen some wins, excitement, and Heisman Trophy. Like they've seen some real signs of life out of this thing, and some real excitement about it. And so I do feel that especially a lot of our local guys sense that and want to come be a part of pushing it over the top. And that's been a real strong sentiment within the city and the guys within the kind of the LA landscape. And then the last thing I would say is I think I've said this before to our local guys, like this place has advantages that are so unique in our game, like so many. But I also think it had so many holes that those were weighing down and almost offsetting any advantage that SC has had and will forever had. Well, as we of a university and athletic department and program have fixed some of these areas, you're starting to feel the advantages again. Like you really are. Like they're starting to become more of a factor again, and that's now it's exciting because I think it's just the tip of the iceberg here.
Blaming anybody or pointing fingers at you guys. Just why didn't it work out with Bear Alexander at the end? What just didn't happen together?
I love the kid, man. I've known the kids for a long time. I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him in every game but one. I really do. I want to see him have success. It just didn't mesh well at the end, and there was just a situation there at the end that we just felt like it was going to be the best going forward to do it separate ways. And so, sometimes these things don't work out, and you want them all to, especially with a kid that you've known that long. But I root for him, man. I have love for the kid. I hope he has a great year, and one of those guys will always be in his corner no matter what happens.
What's the disconnect then, like nationally versus that? Because that's a pretty glowing statement, right? And a lot of players who are here and other guys who are in the league now say how great a teammate he is, how smart he is. Mm-hmm. And nationally, the perception is this guy quit on his team.
Yeah.
He's transferred multiple times. He's lazy, and all these glowing statements wouldn't be the same of guys who would disrespect a lazy guy.
Yeah.
Or a guy who
Yeah.
quit the team. So
Yeah.
what is the disconnect between the national perception of this guy and the guy
Well,
who is?
it's like anything. If you just look at something on the surface, a lot of times you don't always get the whole story. You can go look at the surface and see he's at his third college and he was at a bunch of different high schools, and you can go look on it and not do much research and not know a kid and come up to your own conclusions. And I think that happens all the time. And so, Bear's a good kid, man. He is. Bear's been through a lot in his life. He's had to overcome a lot. And I have a lot of respect for him for that. So, I think the people that are around him and have been around him do have a genuine love and appreciation for the kid and want to see him do well.
Hindsight's 2020. Entry into the new conference. There's a lot of variables of this season. Looking back on last year, you got to talk through that. What was the one major thing that you would have done differently and that is correctable and you'd be doing this year?
Just relative to the Big Ten. There's a few things in our weekly schedule, how we prepare, not as much the travel, but just kind of getting them ready and accounting for that. There's I don't want to get into specifics, but there's just a few things in how we operate on a day-to-day basis that we are going to do that we feel like are going to give us some advantages that we didn't have last year. And I know that's kind of vague, but it's just not something I really want to get all the way into. But I think you're adjusting to playing different style of games, different style of teams, the travel, kind of all of that. You got to, you have to account for all that. And I think going through that gave us a little bit clearer perspective of what we need to be successful in it. So I'm excited for this year because of that.